It was a biting cold morning in San Francisco. Fog clung to the streets like memories refusing to fade, wrapping the city in a somber embrace. The kind of morning where the world seemed quieter, slower. In the distance, a man walked with steady steps, his hands buried deep into the pockets of a worn gray hoodie. His face, half hidden beneath the fabric, bore lines not just of age but of burdens carried too long. No one noticed him. And that was exactly what he wanted. To the casual eye, he was just another man navigating the cracked sidewalks of Mission District. But beneath the hoodie was a man known by billions, Elon Musk, tech visionary, billionaire, disruptor of industries. Today, he wasn't any of that. Today, he was just a man returning to a past he had tried so hard to leave behind. He stopped outside a small, aged apartment building. The paint was peeling, the bricks showing signs of weary erosion. The buzzer panel had only 4 names, but the one he searched for stood out immediately. R. Ramirez. His breath caught in his throat. Mrs. Rosa Ramirez. 25 years ago, she had been more than just a landlady. She had been a lifeline. When he had arrived in the U.S. with dreams larger than his suitcase, she was the one who gave him a place to sleep, a warm bowl of soup, and most importantly, kindness without conditions. He hadn't spoken to her in decades. After PayPal, after Tesla, after SpaceX, Neuralink, Twitter, he had simply moved on. He told himself it was because he was busy, but the truth was more human guilt. The kind that whispers at night, reminding you of promises you never kept. He pressed the buzzer. A raspy voice answered. Yes? Hi. I was wondering if you had a room for rent. I'm new in town, just looking for something quiet. There was a pause. You sound familiar. What's your name, son? Elon hesitated. The truth hovered, fragile. Elliot, he said softly. Just Elliot. The door buzzed open. The hallway smelled the same. A mixture of lavender, dust, and old wood. He climbed the narrow staircase, each step creaking like a memory resurfacing. When he reached the second floor, the door was already open. Mrs. Ramirez stood there. Her once black hair was now a soft silver, pulled back in a loose bun. Her frame had shrunk, but her eyes still carried that fire, wise, observant. Come in. It's cold out." He stepped in. The apartment hadn't changed. The floral couch, the ticking wall clock, the crucifix above the doorway. A small shelf of well-worn books stood near the kitchen, next to a faded photo of a young boy. Him. She didn't recognize him, or maybe she did, but chose not to. "You hungry? I just made some caldo de pollo. Always makes the house smell like home." He smiled. "I'd love some." They sat across from each other at the small kitchen table. She served the soup with the same grace he remembered. "You remind me of someone," she said, squinting at him. "Oh?" "A boy who used to stay here many years ago. Strange one. Always talked about space and rockets. Drew things on napkins. I wonder what happened to him." He swallowed, the spoon pausing midair. "Maybe he made it to space," she chuckled. "Maybe." That night, he couldn't sleep. The room he once called his was exactly the same. The creaky bed, the window that didn't quite close. He lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. His sons, his companies, the media noise, the pressure, the moments he never got back, and the woman sleeping just across the hallway who once told him, "You don't need to be great to be good." He wrote a letter by hand. "Dear Mrs. Ramirez, I was once a young man with no direction, no money, and no friends. You gave me a place to rest, a warm meal, and kindness when I had nothing to offer in return. That boy never forgot you. You were the first person who believed in me without asking for anything. Because of you, I kept believing in myself, even when everything seemed to fall apart. My name isn't Elliot. It's Elon Musk. And the world may know my name, but I know yours. Rosa Ramirez, the woman who taught me humanity before I ever touched technology. Thank you." Elon. He placed the letter on the kitchen table and left before dawn. No noise. No goodbye. The sun rose slowly over the city. Rosa walked into her kitchen, humming an old tune. She noticed the folded paper and picked it up. As she read, her hands trembled. Her eyes filled with tears, blurring the ink. She didn't cry because he was famous. She cried because he remembered. Because somewhere behind the hoodie, in the quiet gaze of that man, she had seen him. The boy who once said he would build a ship to Mars, but couldn't afford breakfast. She had known. Weeks passed, then months. One morning, a brand new satellite dish appeared on the roof of the building. A man from Tesla delivered it personally. Courtesy of Mr. Musk, he said with a smile. A year's worth of groceries began arriving every week. A housekeeper showed up on Wednesdays, a nurse on Saturdays. Mrs. Ramirez never asked for any of it, and she never told anyone, not even her niece who visited every summer. She just smiled, looked at the faded photo of that young boy, and said, "He always kept his promises." Years later, as Elon stood in front of a crowd at a Mars colonization summit, he was asked a question by a young student. "What inspired you to change the world?" He paused. Then he said, "A woman who gave me soup and shelter when I had nothing. She didn't ask for my name or my plan. She just helped." That was all he said. But Rosa, watching from her old couch, smiled through her tears. Her name was never mentioned on any slides, but she had already traveled further than any rocket ever would. Because love, in its simplest form, leaves the deepest legacy. 5 years later, Rosa's health began to fade. Age caught up with her gently but persistently. One afternoon, a sleek black car parked outside her building. No cameras, no assistants. Elon stepped out, carrying a bouquet of marigolds. He sat beside her bed, took her hand, and just listened. She spoke of the past, her late husband, the stories of her youth in Mexico. Elon didn't interrupt. The world could wait. Before leaving, he kissed her forehead and whispered, "You saved me before I saved anything." And she, with a tired smile, replied, "You were always enough." After Rosa passed, the building was renovated, but her apartment was left untouched, preserved like a time capsule. One room, one chair, one photo of a boy with rocket sketches. Elon purchased the building, turned it into a home for immigrant students with nowhere else to go. He named it Casa Rosa, and on the plaque by the entrance, it read, "In memory of the woman who believed before the world did."